All right, good morning, everyone, and happy Thursday. I'm Jenny McCullum, the Director of Procurement and Chief Procurement Officer for JEA and the Chair of the Awards Committee. I'd like to call the April 1st, 2021 awards meeting to order. We have a quorum with Stephen Datz, Julie Crawford, sitting in for Joe Arfano, Ricky Erickson, and Hai Vu. OGC is represented by Julie Davis, and Budget is represented by Stephanie Neely. Before we get started, I wish I had some good April Fool's jokes, but I do not. I was trying to think of one that I could play on the committee, but I just couldn't think of anything from afar. So you guys lucked out today. I'll ask the group if there's any public comment before we get started. We'll start with the CC1 bid office. Is there any public comment in the room?
No public comment.
Thank you. Did we have any emails come in before the meeting started?
No emails.
Great, thank you. And I'll ask if there's anyone that has phoned in on the call that has any public comment on the agenda being presented today. All right, seeing none, we will move to our agenda. We have items 1 and 3 through 6. Item 2 has been deferred for this week. All of the items on the agenda have been reviewed by Procurement and by Budget and are ready for the Awards Committee review. What we'll do is we'll review each award item individually. I will ask the committee if there's comments or questions. Once we move through that period, I will ask for a motion to approve each award individually with a second, and then we'll roll call through the committee to get approval from each one of you individually. We'll start with the meeting minutes from our March 25th meeting. Are there any comments or questions? All right, can we get a motion to approve the meeting minutes from March 25th, 2021?
Hai Vu, so moved.
Stephen Datz, second.
Thank you. We'll roll call through the committee to approve the meeting minutes from March 25th, 2021, starting with Hai Vu.
Approved.
Stephen Datz.
Approved.
Ricky Erickson.
Approved.
And Julie Crawford. Approved. Thank you. Award number 3 is a sole source. This is for our water meter endpoint. This request is for the purchase of Landis & Gear Technology Series 3 interpreters endpoint units, which will support JEA's current failing water meter infrastructure and allow for growth and maintenance of our current prepay water customers that require daily reads for continuation of services provided. So this work is in conjunction with our current, these units will work in conjunction with our current meter population for ease of use, installation, and the interoperability benefits JEA can realize. These modules communicate with using the grid stream protocol, as do our electric meters, reducing reliance on the USC system network that has become obsolete for our water side. Landis & Gear Technology, Inc. is the recommended awardee, and the award amount is $352,000. This is a one-time purchase. I'll give you a little bit more background. So advanced water metering solution will enable the integration of water metering into our RF mesh advanced metering infrastructure network. So these units will serve as a stopgap measure as JEA positions itself for a long-term solution. And the quantity that we selected was based off of what the manufacturer stated as available for JEA, but then also coupled with JEA's need to reduce reliance on our manual reads, which is once per month. These offer two-way communication capabilities. And they use, again, the same network that the electric meters are using. The potential benefits of implementing this will allow JEA to have the ability to request reads for last time meter reads or service requests, provide for an easy module firmware upgrade, and will provide network connectivity confirmations assuring that the meters are communicating as required. So just for an example, for every deployment of 2,000 modules, the need for one of our manual meter readers is eliminated. And this is through the automation, reducing the truck rolls for physical in-person reads by JEA meter department, as well as associated misreads and customer billing complaints. These modules will also provide daily reads to support prepaid billing options for our customers. Right now we're having to do a lot of manual reads, and this is taking us one step further into that automation and the two-way meters. So I'm going to pause there, and I will ask Tom if there's any other information you want to add or anything that I might have left off.
Only thing I could say on this is, this is truly just that. It's a stopgap measure there as we kind of move forward with it. We are consistently bringing folks on board right now on the meter reading area because these failing MTUs, these transmitting units, we're moving forward with this in order to try to prevent that in the future. We're seeing some issues there related to making sure that we're getting bills out to our customers accurately. This is one of the steps we use there to try to ensure that those bills reporting over to the billing area are accurate, having that ability. Talking a little bit about the prepay aspect of it, those particular customers there are utilizing those reads much more often than a regular customer would be, in which case we'd be utilizing these units in those particular cases there to make sure that those customers are handled appropriately.
Thanks, Tom. Are there any questions from the committee on this one, and any questions about what the future looks like as we do some pilot testing and give them some opportunity to see what else is out there? I think the main reason for this sole source too, and what we discussed with Tom, was the fact that it could utilize the current network that the electric meters are on. And so it makes sense for us to be able to test Landis & Gear and look at that piece of it currently, and also get ourselves to a position with at least the ones that they can provide us currently today with the failing units and being able to read those meters accurately. Any questions or comments?
So this is
All right,
how
I will. Go ahead.
I have a question. This is a stopgap measure, and we're purchasing 4,400 of this unit. So, Tom, do you know how much time does that buy us before we implement a new solution?
I think I heard the question. Let me make sure I repeated it. You're looking for a total time frame as for a stopgap before we find a final solution. Is that the question?
That's correct.
Okay, yeah. So as it sits right now, Landis & Gear is the sole provider for that particular area. The question is coming up if they're going to be the provider for us in the future based upon what we're actually seeing, where the market's going and the type of technology that are there. We're embarking on a proof of concept to be able to offer some different type of possibilities for other vendors to make sure we're moving in the right direction. We would like to have some type of solution in place by the end of this fiscal year before we're actually making a large purchase and start looking at a large capital project as we move forward between now and the next 5 years. But in that meantime, this is one of the avenues that we need to take to ensure that we get good reads. But a final solution has not been completely vetted out yet until the proof of concept is completed and the decision is made at that particular level, which particular vendor / network that we would ultimately be going with.
Thank you, Tom.
And there is different technology, as Tom educated myself before we decided to bring this as a sole source. there's other units that also connect via Wi-Fi and where we wouldn't have to use a network, and there's others that could utilize different networks, or this, maybe this network that we're currently using. So we just need to go through the testing process to be able to determine that and see what is the best fit for JEA and in the best interest of the company. Any other questions or comments? All right, I'll ask for a motion to approve award number 3.
Stephen Datz, motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Appreciate it. We'll roll call through the committee to approve award number 3, starting with Stephen Datz.
Approved.
Vu.
Approved.
Ricky Erkson,
Approved.
and Julie Crawford. Thank you. Award number 4 is another sole source. This is for Energy Exemplar software license and the Plexos cloud subscription and our support agreement. So this is for a project and 1-year subscription, and then it would be 4 years of O&M after that. So JEA has negotiated a 5-year agreement with Energy Exemplar for software licenses and the support in it for the capability of performing both production modeling and capacity expansion modeling. Our electric generation planning group is responsible for developing long-term generating resource forecasts and strategies for JEA that provide reliable power in the most optimized and cost-efficient or cost-effective ways for JEA. They are also, some of their core business functions are to develop an annual 10-year site plan and report that to the Florida Public Service Commission, and an annual integrated resource plan based off of our board policy manual. So to produce the electric system forecast for these reports, it's really important that we've got the production modeling piece and we've got the capacity expansion modeling. The annual cost is $184,000 per year, and that is for our licenses, which is for 5 different users at $160,000, and then $24,000 for cloud workspace subscription. So the recommended awardee is Energy Exemplar LLC, and the award amount is $920,000 over a 5-year period. I'll just give you a little bit of background on the research that was done before a sole source was selected. So we, the business and procurement selected this sole source vendor due to the number of reasons, just including the market strength it has, the product capabilities, and the abilities to meet JEA's requirements, as noted earlier. And I'll note too that through the vetting, this request has already been reviewed and approved by JEA's Engineering Ops Steering Committee and JEA's Information Security. So we know that both of those groups are on board with it as well and okay with using this software. JEA, so currently I'll give you guys a little bit of information and then I'll move to the business to provide whatever gaps that I might leave out. But at a high level, JEA owns 3 softwares that are capable of performing production modeling. And we've got a table broken out on those 3 softwares, and who uses those are, currently our JEA GP and fuels management services are using the ProSim and the E7. And then we've got a third software called GenTrader that's currently being used by our bulk power operations at SOC. But we've got some issues listed here as to why we're having to move forward with a new software for the generation planning group. So they're, just currently the ProSim is outdated and unsupported. They don't have enough features to get them to where they need to be from a long-term planning perspective. The Gen Trader has long runtime issues, unable to handle large quantities of data, and can only model 1 year at a time. And then the same for the E7, just slow loading times, long run times. And it does not include capacity expansion, planning capabilities, which, as we stated earlier, is very important for this group. So they went to the market, did quite a bit of extensive research with other utilities and peers to benchmark. And there's a table below that lists all the different softwares that are out there, 2 of which we already own, which aren't meeting our needs. And so you guys can see the different functionalities of those in the table. I won't spend too much time talking about those, but just a little bit more on Plexus and why we would like to go forward with that is just a large market customer base of energy system simulation software with over 350 customers globally. It's an all-in-one software package, which includes the production modeling, capacity expansion modeling, and transmission analysis capabilities. So this will allow us to not to have to go to a third party to be able to report out on these functions, and it'll add the functionality as well for the transmission requirements and restraints in the modeling. We are in discussions with the other JEA business units to see if this software can replace the other software systems, but we need to have further discussions before we can make that decision. And then I will just, the last note is TEA has done a little, they've recently switched over to this software and successfully performed multiple market power purchases and sales analysis for JEA. So we've got some data that they've pulled that has been validated and tested already, and they've offered to help assist us at no cost with implementing the software and troubleshooting with the data they've already pulled for JEA so that we can make sure that everything is flowing correctly. And that will actually reduce the install time and the implementation up to about 6 months. We've compared our costs with the Department of Energy and National Energy Tech Lab, and ours is lower than those. So we feel that we're getting a good price on this sole source. So I will pass it over to the committee to see if there's any questions that the business might be able to answer that we haven't already covered. No questions? All right, I will ask for a motion to approve award number 4.
This is Ricky, so moved.
Thanks, Ricky. Can I get a second?
Hybrid, second.
Thank you. We'll roll call through the committee to approve award number 4, starting with Ricky Erickson.
Approved.
Hai Vu.
Approved.
Stephen Datz.
Approved.
And Julie Crawford. Thank you. The next one, award number 5, is a contract increase, and this is for general construction services at our electric plants. These are industrial contractors that have the technical expertise in operations, maintenance, and construction, of large municipal electric utilities for repair and maintenance projects. And this is a 5-year period that we have established these contracts with 3 different vendors. And our current expiration date is August of 2022. We are asking for increases for WG Yates and Sons Construction Co. In the amount of $4,249,000, and WW Gay Mechanical Contractors Inc. in the amount of $2,286,000. Williams Industrial LLC has enough on their current contract, so we are not increasing that one, but included it to show just kind of how we're getting to our full total new not to exceed We started out at 3 million or 30 million, excuse me, broken out between the three vendors back in August of 2017. And then we've done but contract increases through the awards committee for Yates and for WWGA back in 2019. And this contract increase is for new approved capital projects and O&M spend through FY22. So the work, just so you guys know how these contracts are set up, the work is awarded in two different methods. We do a competitive lump sum bid between the companies for project work. So if there's anything that projects that come up, we competitively bid those through the three, and they submit lump sum pricing to us, and the low bid moves forward. Then you can also pick if it's O&M and we need to do, maintenance or repair work. We can do a direct award with any of them using the time and materials. And we can pick the best company that's suited to perform that specialized work based off of their specialties, where you can, choose how you want to move forward. But we have rates established, and those rates, are fixed for the first year, 3 years of this contract, and then if requested, they can be adjusted by CPI annually. I know this is a huge contract for the electric group, from a repair, maintenance, operations standpoint, to not have to be able to do emergency type call outs. We've got these three on call for that. So it's worked out very well. We feel that we've got, good competition between the three when we do need to bid a project out. And if there's any other additional work that is not included in this contract increase, or if we choose to renew, we will come back to the awards committee as necessary. So I'll ask the committee if there's any questions or comments on award number 5.
This is highlighted the write-up in the background and recommendation. The first paragraph is incorrect, and it took me a while to figure it out. I think the original award, is it that Yates had the 12 million, Williams had the 10 million, and WWGA had the 8 million.
Correct. So if you look at how I actually saw this too, and I had to kind of do a double take. So if you look at the table, we have the kind of the history in the background, but our table currently says what our current not to exceed amount is for those three, because we did the original award amount, and then we also in 2019 did increases. So you can see our current not to exceed would be for WWGA that 12 million plus the 4.5.
I understand, but I think the write-up in your background is incorrect. You have right there. Well, you
You're
have
right. It doesn't add
WWGA 12, Yates 10, and Williams 8.
You're right. We got to fix that table, Rodney.
It's not the table, it's the write-up. The first paragraph in the background.
Okay. We'll look at that, Hi. So you're saying the original award isn't lining up with the amounts we have listed?
Right. I think everything else is correct except for the write-up in the background.
Okay. Rodney, can you comment? And
I'm looking at we're saying that the section where it says originally bid and awarded in August 2017, the amount of 30 million to 12, 10, and 8. You're saying that numbers, those numbers are not right. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So the original, I think Yates had the 12 million, Williams received 10, and WWGA received 8.
I see what you're saying.
We'll update that. So 12, 10, it should be 12, 8, and 10.
I got the orders. I got the order mixed up.
That's all right, Rodney. Not all of us are perfect every time.
I do have a
Forever.
follow-up question. So the
Go ahead.
the first and third ranked firms received a lot of work. So I was curious to see, really for my own curiosity, how much of that work or the work that was awarded to the firms were bid, and how much were time and materials that were directly awarded to?
I don't have the numbers. This is Rodney Love speaking. I
Just
don't have the numbers offhand, but more of the work is typically on a lump sum bid between the three companies. The T&M jobs are typically the smaller call-out type work. And I believe in a previous award write-up, we had noted it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 75% were being done lump sum bid between the companies, and the rest was T&M. I don't have that updated number offhand.
Good. That's good, Rodney. I just wanted to get a rough idea. Thank you.
So it sounds like, Rodney, to summarize that Williams has not been quite as competitive and receiving less work because of that.
That'd be a fair statement.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, I'll ask for a motion to approve award number 5 with the administrative updates to the paragraph in the background section.
This is Ricky, so moved.
Thanks, Ricky.
Stephen Datt,
Can I get a
second.
second? Thanks, Stephen. We will roll call through the committee to approve award number 5 as discussed and updated, starting with Ricky Erickson,
Approved.
Stephen Datt,
Approved.
Hai Vu,
Approved.
and Julie Crawford. Approved. Thank you. All right, our last award is award number 6. This is a contract increase for electric plant scaffolding services. And the purpose of using this work and the scaffolding services is for repair, testing, inspection, and replacement of generating station components. Sunbelt Rentals, Inc. is our awardee, and the award amount is $3,047,000. This is a 5-year contract that was set up in 2018, in June of 2018, in the amount of about $3.9 or $4 million if you round up, and it was to Sunbelt Rentals, Inc. Back in January of 2021, we did an administrative increase of 10%, which is just under $400,000. And this request is for additional funding for various scaffolding services on an as-needed basis for NGS and CT outages and power generation projects through the remaining term of the contract, which ends in July of 2023. So just a specific itemization is not provided, as outage support and project definitions typically don't break out the scaffolding specifications in the project. And so they are done by a task authorization per project. Once the projects come up and they need to have scaffolding, they can use this contract to bring Sunbelt in. Pricing is fixed per job, and time and materials rates for non-specific jobs, all tied to our bid workbook. We'll pause there and see if there are any questions for the committee, or from the committee, excuse me. All right, I'll ask for a motion to approve award number 6.
Hai Vu, so moved.
Thanks, Hai. Can I get a second?
This is Ricky, second.
Thanks, Ricky. We'll roll call through the committee to approve award number 6, starting with Haizu,
Approved.
Ricky Erickson,
Approved.
Stephen Datz,
Approved.
and Julie Crawford. Approved. Thank you. So each item has been reviewed and approved individually. So the entire agenda for April 1st, 2021 has been approved. Is there any other business to come before the awards committee? All right, since we have just a few extra minutes, I do want to mention something to the board or to the committee. We are going to present some P code changes to the board in April based off of recent charter changes and then the benchmarking study that was done through our outside consultant, Blue Burrow. And so that is scheduled to go to the board at the end of April. And I want to share my screen if I can. Let me see, I might not be able to. Yes. Okay, let me share my screen for a moment. Let me find it. Sorry. All right, can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, this is the slide I want to just kind of show you guys, run past you. And this is just a draft of the presentation that I'm creating for the board, but it gives a high level of the recommended revisions. So I just wanted to run through those with the committee. Probably nothing you guys haven't already heard. We've kind of talked offline with the main users, which are Hi, Ricky, Stephen, what these changes look like and what they might entail. But I'll just run through these quickly, and then if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to take those now or offline, and we can talk about it before I finalize the presentation. I'll also just want to thank OGC. They've put a lot of hard work into this. So we've, recommended all these changes, and what they've done is taken it and kind of worked through the final version for us from a legal perspective, and done a final review and putting this new P code together. And it has taken quite a bit of time and work. So I just want to thank Julie and Lisikia and Kyle, Gavin, and all the other attorneys that are helping us do this. But you can see these are just the high-level changes. We're looking to amend and restate JEA's procurement code as of April, which means we're taking all of the versions prior to that have been approved with this one, and we're just taking one big amendment, and we are going to reinstate it. So going forward, this one will be posted to the website. It'll be a clean version, and then any changes going forward, we will amend and put on the website so it's very clear what changes have been made since this one going forward. The board has to approve all changes going forward per our charter, and so and then it has to be posted to the website per the charter changes as well. So this will cover that requirement. We just standardized definitions across the P code and operational procedures. We revised the reporting requirement language to match the JEA charter requirements, which means currently we're doing just a sole source, emergency, and PAB report to the board quarterly. And what that will do is match our JEA requirements, which is an annual report to the city and the mayor and city council that pulls all of the contracts that we bring to the awards committee into a report, and a survey that we're going to be compiling and pushing out to vendors annually. So all of that, and then any PABs that we have will all be summarized in a report that will go to the city council and the mayor. So before we send that to them, our recommendation is to align our reporting with that and report out to the board on that moving forward. So we will reduce the amount of reports that we take to the board from a procurement perspective and just do that one time annually. So it'll all match up and coincide together. We are recommending removing the Chief Procurement Officer and Budget Representative as non-voting members of the Awards Committee and making them liaisons like Office of General Counsel. And what that does is it prevents any issues with the open meetings law. And that way, if you guys have questions for budget or for me before the Awards Committee, we can have those conversations outside the sunshine and answer any questions that you guys might have. It just helps us reduce the risk of violating those laws. But we'll still be required to be at every meeting. And so the 3 liaisons would still be a requirement, or a delegate would be a requirement. This is a big one. We are restructuring our non-competitive awards into single source and emergency purchases only. And so what we're doing is we're going to be deleting our sole source, proprietary, OEM, manufacturer, and standards as procurement methods. So you either have a single source, which can't be competed, and there'll have to be justification for that, or even if it is a standard or a proprietary or OEM that has multiple distributors or multiple manufacturers, we would just bid that out through one of our procurement methods, which would be, IFB, RFP, or ITN. And so what that's going to do is really kind of streamline that process. And part of what we're going to bring to the awards committee because of this change is we're going to only start bringing the formal single source and emergencies to you all, so it does not impact the size of these agendas. And so the informal side can just be approved by the Chief Procurement Officer per the code. So that's a big change that is coming that I wanted to, we'll table that for a second. I'll run through the rest, which will go pretty quickly, and then let's go back and see if you guys have questions about that one. We've also added 3 methods. We're adding a pilot project method, a construction manager at risk, which the state uses and which we do follow. We're just cleaning that up, and same with the program manager at risk. The state uses those. We are allowed to do that as well, but we're just making those a little bit cleaner in the P code. And then the reverse auctions as all new sourcing methods. We're removing the ability of vendors to use solicitation and award protests for contract disputes. So they can still protest solicitations, they can still protest awards, but once we have a contract in place that is a legal binding document, they are not allowed to protest if we decide to terminate for default for poor performance, or assess liquidated damages because their contracts are late. Whatever is in the contract is binding, and if they want to dispute those, then they can take us to court or find other administrative remedies, but they will not have the remedy to come to the PAB or the Chief Procurement Officer to fight those. It's going to be what stands in our contract. And that aligns with how the city handles their contracts. So, we're kind of more aligning ourselves with them. And then also the benchmark study showed that nobody else allows them to dispute contracts. So we're going to clean that up. And then we are removing from the scope of the Procurement Appeals Board protests relating to informal solicitations and awards. So anything that comes before myself as Chief Procurement Officer, my decision is going to be final on the informal side. So anything under $300,000 for small purchases would not be, they would not have an administrative remedy past myself for those types of appeals. Again, the vendor can seek any other administrative remedies they want through legal action, but they will not have the ability to take up the time from the Procurement Appeals Board protest process with small purchases. It's an administrative burden that doesn't seem to be in the best interest of JEA from the size of these contracts. So that, and then we're moving the procurement directive procedures, so the actual written procedures that we have for the directives in Appendix B of the P code, we're going to move those to the operating procedures so that we have some more flexibility. Those are owned by the business units. Those are updated by the business units, and really reflect more on how they handle it from a daily desk procedure type way. So, you know, we still have the ability to have those exempt through the P code, but the actual procedures themselves are going to be attached to the operational procedure, and that'll allow more flexibility to update those real time, just like we do on the operational procedures without having to go to the board to do that. We also are suggesting reformatting those into tables instead of these long Word documents where it's hard to tell, you know, the delegation of authority and, you know, what you can actually purchase through these. We've created these tables that we've vetted with the business units that make it easier for them to read. And then lastly, just a ton of formatting cleanup changes and section referral changes as we've updated things. We've just cleaned up the format of it. So I am, you know, excited to present these to the board. You know, we've done quite a bit of research and benchmarking and discussions with OGC to get this cleaned up to allow, you know, JEA's procurement group to, you know, function as easily as possible with the business, hopefully creating a little bit more ease of process through some of these changes for our business units. And I just wanted to make sure that the committee heard these changes and recommendations prior to going to the board and see if you guys have any questions.
I have a question, Jenny.
Sure.
Revisiting the budget representative part, does that remove the signature requirement on the documentation? No.
No, it will not. Our functions will remain the same. It's basically just taking the sunshine open meetings part out of it for us. So if you needed to discuss a budget trend with one of the committee members, you know, as a VP of their award, you would be able to do that outside the meeting.
Okay.
Great question. Any other questions?
So will the changes be effective immediately if the board approves all the changes?
Correct. So April 27th is the board meeting, and that is when this will go into effect if they approve all these changes.
Do we have the revised procurement code available somewhere that we can review?
What was that, Hi? Do we have to revise what?
Do we have the revised procurement code available somewhere that we can also review?
Viewed online?
Or, yeah, or whatever that we can have access to before.
I will attach the revised code, and then we'll put it on the website if that answers your question.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
I know we've also had some discussions with the three of you about the standards governance board, and it was a recommendation that came out of our benchmarking study. That is not in the P code. That is, you know, kind of something separate. Since standards is not something that goes through procurement, what we're going to do is add into the operating procedures what that looks like, what that process will look like as we all continue to discuss and review that. But it's not something that goes in the P code. We want to make sure that what's in the P code really isn't things that are happening from a meeting perspective, like a process perspective, because anytime that changes, we'd have to go back to the board to approve those. And so allowing those kind of procedural things to be in the operational procedures gives us more flexibility to update as we see fit, you know, to make the process more streamlined or change those as needed as things change with the company. So that's why you don't see that here. We talked a lot about where we add that, but that seemed to be the most, proper place in our minds to add that. Any other thoughts, questions?
So are we planning to notify our vendor partners of the changes? Or how are we planning to notify them?
For standards and for that process?
No.
Or
Of the new revised procurement code, because there's a couple of sections in there, things like the procurement appeals board that's going to be affecting them, and just curious about the communication process.
Yeah, it's a great question. We haven't gotten that far yet, but we will start putting a process in place to notify them. Likely we can just do a vendor blast. It's going to be on the website and we can point everyone to that and let them look through. I can also include just kind of this high level, change recommendation that they could look through, but it'll also be on the website through the board approval. So we could just point to that as well. But we'll make sure, that happens appropriately. Any other questions?
Thank you, Jenny. Appreciate the preview.
You're welcome. If there's anything that you guys see that you think would be confusing to the board or is just maybe too high level and you think there needs to be some more detail, I'm happy to have those conversations offline. I want to make this as smooth as possible when we take it to the board at the end of the month. So please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. This is in just very draft form at this point, and it'll have some history about the P code, why we're doing the changes, everything leading up to the revision page. So it'll give them some history and background as well. All right. If you guys don't have any other thoughts or questions, I will officially adjourn the meeting, and I hope that everybody has a great Thursday, a very, very safe weekend with Easter. If you're traveling to see family or just staying home to celebrate with family, please be safe and respectful of, the family members and anybody else that you work with. For coming back to the office, if you're in the office after gatherings, just make sure everybody is following our guidelines and our safety requirements. But I just hope everybody has a wonderful weekend and does have some time with some family if they're lucky enough to do that. So I will see you guys next week.
All right. Thank you.
Jenny.
You're welcome. Thank you.